The Queen of Cups is a really beautiful card, and she speaks about great passion and love, and yet there is also a subtlety and the suggestion of a mystery to her. And over on the Rider-Waite card we can actually see this rather well. She peers lovingly and longingly at this golden cup representing all of the wonders of creation, and even these mermaid cherub looking characters on the top of her throne seem to be looking at it. And then underneath the throne is this suggestion of something of a hidden mystery. Now the fact that she's looking at this cup, and here on the Thoth card is veiled, suggests that there is something to do with the element of the observer going on here, and therefore the nature of consciousness. Now Crowley actually describes this card in the Book of Thoth as a purity and beauty with infinite subtlety. To see the truth of her is hardly possible, for she reflects the nature of the observer in great perfection. And so, as she looks at the universe looks at her, and perhaps this is actually hinting at something of a great secret of the universe itself. And even in contemporary science we see strange experiments like the double slit, suggesting that reality itself perhaps is in some way dependent upon or changes due to simply being observed in consciousness. And that perhaps as things continue to expand and the universe itself expands, it becomes aware of itself and becomes conscious of its own nature, and we are individual strands of consciousness connected to a great whole, a mother ocean. And that's indeed what we see here. She is astrologically water in water. She is extremely watery, fluid and subtle. She is a mother ocean. We see this also on the Tree of Life. She's in Binah, and this is associated with the manifestation of matter, or the birthing of matter, of course. And if we look at the Tree of Life, Binah is female creative power, and Shokmah is male creative power. And so Binah is a womb of creation which receives into it this force of Shokmah, and life begins. And as a mother ocean, again, it's not as esoteric and as out there as what it may first appear. Even some scientists believe that life may have begun in the deep oceans, that it truly was, literally, a mother ocean. And then, as we've just been seeing, things expand, and life expands and wants to crawl up onto the shores and leave that womb of creation and explore all of the marvels of creation, expanding and growing forever in consciousness. The sea is of course also ruled by the moon, and the tides change based upon the faces of the moon and all of the powers connected with it. And we see this on the card, this really big, beautiful moon rising above and also behind the Queen. She's sitting in front of the moon. This is intuition. It is femininity, and is therefore also concerned with the cycles both of nature and the seasons, and the cycles in one's own body, and a linking up there between them, and therefore again a coming into union and an understanding of one and the other, which is as above so below. When we understand oneself, we understand the universe. To understand the universe helps us to understand ourselves. The curves of light of which are coming down are a veil. As we've seen, it suggests that we can't see her fully, as Crowley said in the Book of Thoth. There will always be a secrecy to her, and an element of which we may never quite understand. The light on the Tree of Life could be a sod, of which again would be ruled here by the moon. And so we really see that power of the moon and the phases of the moon affecting the way of which we see things. And perhaps sometimes we can see a little bit more through the veil, so make out a little bit more of her, and other times we won't be able to see her at all. Now, in her left hand, and the left hand, of course, as we've seen, is suggestive of the physical world and the left brain and logic and all that type of thing, and yet here she holds in her left hand a shell being a symbol of that mother ocean, and also a vessel that can hold water. And as we have seen in different symbols such as the Ankh which means life, of course. It holds water inside it, the waters of life, and comes down through that birth canal. It's a symbol of fertility and of childbearing and life itself. Because she is associated with Binar and is that mother ocean, this symbol could represent that, and it could also be that, of course, she is creative power. She holds that water of life, that womb of life, in her left hand, and so her physical manifestation is the giving and nurturing of life itself. And so she really is a mother figure in that result. And in the shell, we can actually see the fish. And it's in a bit of a funny position this time, is this fish. It's standing on end with its tail fins displayed into this pattern of a trident. And of course the trident is going to be a symbol of the god of the seas, Neptune. And this god is a great one of inspiration and intuition, like what we've just seen with the moon there, and also has an element of illusion connected with him. The trident itself. The trident historically is a fishing implement. It enables one to reach forth into the water and hope to catch a fish. And so symbolically, it's an extension of one's consciousness, enabling us to reach forth into that Mother Ocean and connect with the bounties thereof. It's also quite simply a trinity, and so it has a past, a present and a future, as does everything in the world. It's a maiden, mother and crone, a night, a day and a twilight, a liminal space in the middle, of which is a middle pillar, of which is neither one thing or the other, and is that space where the as above and the so below come together. Now the ocean spreads out in front of the Queen. It looks like we could almost become one with that ocean ourselves when we're looking at the card as the observer, and it contains within it a beautiful reflection of what we see on the shore, so a reflection of the Queen and of the actual veil. And so she transmits her image into the world and also receives the reflection from the world, of which may in itself be related to that mystery of consciousness, and also shows that she is a channel for empathy and intuition. She can take in all these reflections, see the ripples upon them, understand them, and yet also view them perhaps as separate from herself and yet containing a reflection of herself, so part of her being. It really represents that feminine creative power, emotion, imagination, perception. And it can also represent perhaps a shadow side, a hidden world underneath the water, as we've seen before, that we can't see, because when we look into it we actually just see ourselves staring back, or the ripples of the water obscure the depth of it and what may lay beyond. Of course, it's not a stormy ocean or anything like that. It's very calm. It looks quite warm. It looks very inviting, the sea upon this, and so she herself is calm and inviting. She's certainly not aggressive in any way. She's not a judging queen of whom will scream off with your head and that type of thing. You know, she understands us. She understands what's in our heart, and also something of the mystery of our actual being. And we can see that in that she holds in her hand once again the lotus, and here it has 9 petals upon it. This brings us to the 9th Sephiroth on the Tree of Life, Yesod. This is the foundation upon which the world has been built, of which the world has been created upon. And it also balances the forces and the opposing forces of the pillars upon the Tree of Life. And so we can see them joining here into Yesod, and so we have Hord and Netzach and all this type of thing. And so it's like a womb of creation. It's like a space before life is born into Malkuth below it. And so she understands that in the physical world. She sees us as an extension of spirit. She knows where we've come from and where we're going and all that. And we see 2 lotuses actually floating on the ocean to expand upon this theme. And these are Gemini in astrological terms, the twins. And so they represent the ability to communicate these things onto us. And they're also a duality in themselves, and so they go back to that as above and so below type of thing, or birth and death, and of course the many reflections of life in between. And so when she looks at us, she sees herself reflected in us, and she's able therefore to communicate very well what we're thinking and feeling, because she can think it and feel it herself just as well and take it upon into her own heart. We see this with the other symbol upon this card, the Ibis bird. This is a wonderful symbol with this card because it is first and foremost a symbol of Thoth, of whom is, of course, the actual namesake of the deck as a whole. But Thoth is associated with the moon. He's a moon god, and also of sacred texts and the mysteries there upon them. His name is he of whom is like the Ibis, and therefore he is depicted as the Ibis. And he is a recorder of the things that happen in the universe in a book, much like the Akashic records and the idea that things are some way present around us, that things survive and memories of them live. But because he is associated with that type of scientific, physical wisdom, he's going to be connected with Hod, the intellect, and the physical world. And yet she here seems to be almost petting him. She's laying her hand on top of this Thoth Ibis. And so she's in control of what he is and what he represents. And so she, therefore, could control what is written in that book. And she's also not regarding the intellectual written record as the be-all and end-all of expression. She is more interested in channeling that through her intuition. The intuition is on top of this bird. So she is saying that what is written, basically, comes from that love, comes from that Mother Ocean. That Mother Ocean is in control of the intellect, or at least it should be, as we understand our journey through the universe and through the tarot cards. And so picking up the card shows that we are intuitive and that we should connect with our intuition. We can get on and relate to people. We understand them not just as that one person, but as a divine consciousness experiencing the universe from its own perspective. Drawing the card can show a need to get in touch with that type of thing, to know our inner feelings, and when we know them, then we can express them and understand them and work with them. And so it's asking us to develop that intuition and to really begin to love our intuition and trust it. For when we do, we will be in great control of all around us, and we will be able to use the compassion and the love and the understanding to take control over what is written in that book, of which is the record of our life and the physical things around us, of which will take shape due to our channeling and our reflecting of them out into the actual world and the things we see.